In the early decades of the 20th century, Lost Heaven was a city divided between two forces, law and opportunity. Prohibition had turned whiskey into currency and crime into business. Among the names that would rise from this chaos, one stands apart: Tommy Angelo. To some, a gangster. To others, a survivor of circumstance.
Tommy Angelo was born in 1900 to Italian immigrants who arrived in Lost Heaven at the turn of the century. His father worked the docks, his mother cleaned boarding houses. Like many first-generation Americans, Tommy grew up between two worlds: loyalty to family and the hunger for a better life. By 1928, he had found steady work as a taxi driver. It was honest pay, enough to cover rent on a small apartment and send money home. Those who knew him described him as quiet, polite, and cautious behind the wheel.
But the streets he drove were ruled by two rival empires, Don Ennio Salieri on one side and Don Morello on the other. Every fare was a risk, every night shift a negotiation with danger.
Get up, Polly! There's a taxi here! We'll be okay! Move it! Come on!
Where to?
Anywhere. Fast!
In September 1930, that danger became personal. According to surviving police reports, two armed men, later identified as Paulie Lombardo and Sam Trapani, fled an ambush by the Morello family. Their getaway driver was an unsuspecting cabbie, Tommy Angelo. Over the course of several blocks, Angelo evaded pursuit through narrow alleys and side streets, saving both men's lives. The incident would change the trajectory of his own.
Compensation for your services, any damage to your car. This makes us square.
I'm sure it's more than enough.
Good. Don Salieri wants you to know that he's very grateful. So if you ever need anything, maybe a loan or some honest work, don't hesitate to ask. Don doesn't forget his friends.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Days later, Tommy was invited to Salieri's bar, a meeting that would mark his informal initiation into the Salieri Crime Family. Eyewitness accounts describe Salieri as charismatic and calm, a businessman cloaked in paternal charm. What he offered Angelo was not simply employment, it was belonging.
What do they call you? Thomas Angelo, sir.
By early 1931, Tommy Angelo was working as a driver and courier for the Salieri family. The organization controlled bootlegging, gambling, and extortion rackets across the city's east side. At the time, Salieri's main rival was Don Morello, a former ally turned competitor. Their conflict over territory would ignite the bloodiest gang war in Lost Heaven's history. Inside the family, roles were clear. Paulie Lombardo, unpredictable but loyal. Sam Trapani, measured, cautious, trusted by Salieri himself. And Frank Coletti, the Don's consigliere, responsible for business oversight and diplomacy. For Tommy, the change was dramatic. Within months, he had traded the hum of his taxi for the roar of V8 engines, the neon lights of bars for the dim corners of back rooms. To the outside world, he was one more face in the crowd. To Salieri, he was a man who had proven loyalty under fire.
The year 1932 marked the beginning of open hostilities between Salieri and Morello. Police archives list dozens of violent incidents attributed to both sides: hijackings, bombings, targeted assassinations. Angelo's crew, often operating out of Salieri's garage, handled enforcement and transport. Witnesses recall him as methodical, never flashy, rarely emotional, always in control behind the wheel. One report from 1932 details a confrontation in which Angelo and Lombardo eliminated a Morello associate known only as the Rat. No bodies were recovered.
Through 1932, Salieri's influence expanded. Morello's grip weakened. For Tommy Angelo, it was a period of transformation, from cab driver to made man. He had earned respect, power, and a seat at the table. But behind every promotion in the underworld lies an unspoken cost, one that would reveal itself soon enough.
What began as opportunity was already turning into obligation. The deeper Tommy drove into Salieri's empire, the less room there was to turn back.
The Morello War lasted nearly 2 years. It was fought in alleys, warehouses, and clubs that looked respectable from the outside. Police documents from the time note over 40 homicides tied to organized crime. For every body in the morgue, another business fell into Salieri's hands. Inside the family, Tommy had proven himself indispensable, loyal, smart, dependable. But his friends, Paulie and Sam, were changing. Paulie's recklessness grew with each job. Sam, once calm and loyal, began operating closer to Salieri's right hand. The balance between them, friendship, ambition, and fear, began to fracture.
The goddamn point, Tom. We kill Morello in public, in front of the city's creme de la creme. Then they'll all know who's in charge. And it doesn't matter if you have a badge or a gavel or a fat wad of cash in your pocket. If you cross Salieri and his boys, you're dead.
In March 1934, Angelo's crew was ordered to intercept a Morello arms shipment at Lost Heaven Airport. The job was supposed to be routine. It became a bloodbath. Witness statements from an anonymous mechanic described the gunfire lasting nearly 15 minutes. When the smoke cleared, 8 men were dead, all Morellos. The event marked the collapse of Morello's empire. Within months, Don Morello was assassinated while traveling to his summer home. The city's underworld now belonged to one man, Don Salieri.
Jesus Christ. Bastard's daddy doesn't even know it yet. He knows it now. Yeah, pal. That'll do it.
To the public, it was another headline. To Tommy Angelo, it was the peak of his career and the beginning of his descent. With Morello gone, peace should have followed. Instead, paranoia took its place. Salieri grew more suspicious of outsiders and even more of his own men. Every deal required silence. Every favor came with blood. Tommy's conscience, once dormant, began to stir. He had money, respect, and a home, but he also had guilt. By 1936, his closest friend, Paulie, had become erratic. Constantly broke despite the family's wealth, he began talking about robbing banks, a betrayal of the family's code. He refused at first, but the world he'd built offered no way out. When he finally agreed, it wasn't loyalty that drove him. It was exhaustion.
Thinking about hitting up a savings alone downtown. You want to
The heist took place on August 3, 1938. No one knows how much they took. Estimates range from $50,000 to $200,000. What's certain is that it marked the end of Tommy Angelo's loyalty. Within days, Paulie was found dead in his apartment, a single gunshot to the head. Officially, it was listed as gang-related violence. Unofficially, everyone knew who ordered it. Salieri's empire could forgive mistakes, but it never forgave betrayal.
Sam, what the hell's going on?
You and Polly put me in a bad spot.
I know, Sam, and I'm sorry about that, but I need to get out of town. Can you help me or not?
There you go again. Making me choose between my friends and the family. This is what you were looking for, Polly's. Here's your cut. It's more than you deserve.
Sam, you killed him. You killed Paulie.
No. Polly got himself killed.
And you seem real tore up about it.
I'm just in a good mood. Things are right between me and the Don. I'm moving up. And I just found this big bag of money.
In that moment, Tommy understood what kind of man he had served and what kind he had become.
Sure had some laughs, right? Remember that time? Me, you, and Polly.
In the spring of 1939, Tommy Angelo made a decision that would define his legacy. He contacted Detective Norman of the Lost Heaven Police Department and offered a deal: full testimony against Don Salieri in exchange for immunity and protection. For 6 months, Angelo cooperated with law enforcement, detailing murders, smuggling routes, and political bribery that reached deep into City Hall. The trial that followed would dismantle the Salieri Crime Family and expose decades of corruption. But in the underworld, there is no such thing as safety, only borrowed time.
I got a family too. Wife, 4 boys.
Salieri was sentenced to life in prison. Tommy Angelo disappeared under witness protection. For most, the story ends there. But fate, as it often does, had one more act to play.
12 years later, in 1951, Thomas Angelo was living quietly under a new name. A family, a house, a peaceful life, the dream he'd once chased down every dark street. But the past, especially one built on blood, never forgets. One summer morning, 2 men approached his home. One of them, a young gangster from Empire Bay, spoke only a few words before pulling the trigger.
Even when they're moving too fast to catch. That keeps us from falling over. When we're too tired to take another step. Mr. Angelo? Yes. Mr. Salieri sends his regards.
Thomas Angelo was killed instantly. His killers were never charged. Some say it was Salieri's revenge from behind bars. Others, a message from the new generation of mobsters rising in Empire Bay. Whatever the truth, his story ended as it began, behind the wheel, driving into the unknown.